welcome to our first series of Millennial Chats. Just a quick overview. We're going to spend a lot of time discussing, the millennial generation is, what it was originally defined as, and how it's changed over time, and especially post-corona crisis, just to see how that narrative has changed.
Coronavirus.
Too. Yeah. So,
why are you cheering coronavirus?
So before that, we can just go around and introduce ourselves. I'll start with me, then toss over to Ryan. So my name is Darius. I'm 25 years old, so I am in the second wave of the millennial generation.
Second wave, huh? So my name is Ryan. I am 38, but I was born in 1981, so I'll be 39 this year, which means I'm close to 40, which means millennials are close to 40. Get it right, media. We need to make this known, but I'll save that rant for later. Coronavirus. Yeah. Tommy.
Yes,
You're next.
I am 31. I also have not, I'm 1988, so I will be turning 32 this year. And and my name's Tom, obviously.
My name is Kat. I'm eating an almond right now. I am 36 years old, so I guess I'm in the first wave of millennial business, and I'm in LA. Hello.
Hello.
And I'm Phil, and I am 81. I'll be turning 39 at the end of this month. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Do you consider yourself a millennial?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
I've embraced it, I guess. I was really on that Xennial tip for a little bit, for a hot second.
Xennials does not exist. That's just our cohorts posing.
Hey, I was afraid Phil was
my face mask just rolled across the street. What am I supposed to do outside now? That's the world we inherited.
That's some American Beauty stuff right there. Just seeing like the little, that's just like blowing in the wind.
Yeah, that's gonna make somebody very happy.
Ryan, did I ever share with you that video of that parody of a I think it's like the Chrysler ads or something, where they have the focus group, and it's them talking about millennials, and one person who's a millennial being convinced he's Generation X.
I remember that video. I remember. Yeah. And he was like, born in 85?
Yeah, and he was like devastated when he found out he's technically a millennial.
Oh, I have to watch this.
No one wants to be a millennial.
You guys, yeah, it's hilarious. Hilarious.
It's getting to the point where we have people born in 1993 saying, "I'm not a millennial."
Yeah.
Like, okay, well at that point,
it's honestly, I think we would have claimed it a lot sooner if millennials weren't looked down upon in media so much. Like, millennials, they're so snobby, they're so entitled. I'm like, I'm not. Okay, maybe I'm a little entitled, but
no, just own it. Just own it. I mean, it's nothing. It's not mysterious or anything. Millennial just means somebody, in my opinion, somebody that came of age into adulthood during the first of the new millennium. So we're millenniums, So millennials.
Right.
Not to be confused with millennium.
No, that's the old people. They used to say the millenniums are here. So
Yeah.
The new millennium.
I caught that reference, Kat. That was one of my favorite albums. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So, of course, 2 articles came out in the Atlantic over like the past couple months. One that came out in February was called "The Great Affordability Crisis Breaking in America." And sort of as its tagline, it has, in one of the best decades the American economy has ever recorded, families were bled dry by landlords, hospital administrators, universities, and child care centers. And then we had a second article that came out at the end of March that said millennials don't stand a chance. And in one of the titles says millennials are the new lost generation. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how the millennial narrative has gone from, of course, the entitled, narcissistic, me generation over to now, they're the lost generation.
And in between that, we've been called saviors. I mean, there's a book, Charlotte Alter, the ones we've been waiting for. I mean, it seems like we're everything. The media needs to make up their mind. Who are we?
We're everything and nothing.
Well, I
Right.
think that one of the things that we have to talk about when we're talking about this issue is social class. And nobody likes to talk about social class because it's complicated in terms of even defining what it is. But when I saw, just online comment, people talking about how, it's what they think happened is that there's been a fight between the older upper class and millennial upper class, and they're calling them entitled and all of this. And I don't even quite buy that. I think that it was, just a general ploy. It was a way to drive down wages when they just wanted to drive down wages. You hate on somebody until you get what you want. But millennials come from a bunch of different class stratifications. In fact, I think that the date changes a little bit based off of what socioeconomic class background you come from. Because one of the things that I've always said is that 81 is a dividing line, and that the people who went to college during that point in time, they became millennials, but the people who, did not get to go to college and they were in the workforce in 1999, they became Xers. Their life experience was that divergent.
I always point to this Federal Reserve data that shows the percentage of wealth held by the different generations and then also by racial groups. And with the millennials, you see that they actually come in line with Hispanics and Blacks as far as percentage of wealth, which is down around between 4 and 5%. And that hasn't happened with any of the generations before us. So you see, like Phil said, if you're in a lower socioeconomic class, they sort of are the beginning of that. But as the Great Depression or the Great Recession happens and we get these economic shocks, it starts to encompass more and more of the generation, even if you were born middle class or upper middle class.
What do you think is the first mile marker of the millennial narrative? Is that too big of a question, too epic?
9/11 maybe?
In what context?
Oh, as far as like shaping our worldview. Like, for instance, I would start with Columbine.
I'd go back further.
Really?
OJ?
Our experience was shaped by the 5-man band narrative.
Okay.
Because if you remember, cartoons changed. All of a sudden, they went from being the leader of the team is the focus to the team being the focus with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Gotcha.
And it changed everything
Gotcha.
as far as storytelling. And I think that storytelling is a really important part of growth and development. And the narratives that we inform people with are determine how they're going to act in the future.
Mhm.
Because it gives them the information about the world and how they should react to certain situations before they've ever even encountered a situation.
Could you go back and explain that one more time, the 5-man band?
5-man band is a trope, right?
Mhm.
And it's a trope where you have basically a leader, comic relief,
Gotcha.
a lancer,
Mhm.
the smart guy, and the girl.
Right.
They're usually but they're all a team and they're all considered equals in that team. And before that, you had things like for guys, it was G.I. Joe and Transformers, where you had one lead character and all of the others were somehow lesser.
Jim and all of them.
Yeah, He-Man. But for girls, you had it too with She-Ra, and you also had like Rainbow Bright. The show had a lot of other characters, sure, but there was one central character that was, you know, the leader and the boss, and they were the boss because they were the best.
Well,
And our experience, like our narratives changed
Gotcha.
to the leader.
to
Well-
the five-man band. The leader's just the organizer.
For like, I get his point.
Oh, okay. Like
Because
the
the Ninja Turtles-
Goonies or something.
Well, I think the Ninja Turtles is a perfect example because I mean they're all pretty much the same turtle with just like represented by a different color.
It's turtlist, so
Yeah. So, but the equality is there as far as it's not like which one is the protagonist of the show. They're all pretty much on the same playing field, and it's just about what personality do you want to connect to on a day. So
Right.
interesting.
And I think that really shaped our worldview differently from X, who had a different setup, and then Boomers, who had a different setup, and so on and so forth.
I mean,
Yeah, I think I'm more like glommed onto the five-man band thing then, as opposed to the equals, like everyone being equal. That's just my experience. Like I think I've hearkened more to that as opposed to the other.
I think Thundercats is a good one that shows the transition because Thundercats, he's still the leader, the main protagonist, but he's also the one. Like he's the savior of the race. He was the new hope. There was so much put on him, and he carried the weight of like a whole nation, his whole people. So much so that he grew up like in the first episode. He was a kid the first 10 minutes of it. I don't know if anybody remembers the pilot episode of Thundercats, but Lionel is technically the youngest one. He's younger than Wally Kit and Wally
Cat.
Yeah, he's younger than them, but yet, through magical means, I don't even remember how he grew up high or older, but he did.
Neither do I. But then also you've got in that same show, you still have the roles of the five-man band. You've got what's the
She-Ra, Tigra. Yeah.
You have Tigra, who is the Lancer, and the Lancer usually is a foil for the leader. They kind of there's some tension there, but they usually wind up working together. And then Panthro was the kind of machinist, inventor type guy. And, you know, Chitara was the girl, and I don't know what role the twins really played other than existing.
If you think about it, I think I don't know propaganda is a word, that's kind of strong, but the cartoons that we grew up with were really definitely pushing a message. I remember when all the cartoon characters united, it was like around 1990, and they all united for like the All-Star cartoon lineup we had Disney characters, we had the Jim Henson characters, and they all lined up for the purpose of making sure that we said no to drugs. Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I actually think propaganda's a great word for it, because the media that you consume does, like I said, it informs your worldview before you may ever encounter a situation. And it doesn't just have to be news, it's messaging. It's your society telling you what they want you to be. And propaganda is not necessarily a bad thing all the time. Like, I don't think it's wrong to tell people not to do heroin. Like, I think that generally not doing heroin is a good idea. But I also have misgivings with the things we do to the people who do heroin. And both are true.
What do you think about the fact that most of the early examples of millennials and movies and film and TV, pretty much had parents who were either dead or dumb. Because I was thinking about that the other day. I think that's the beginning of okay boomer. I think that's the beginning of us realizing that the authority figures don't have it all together, so we're going to have to be the main character in this story. And the funny thing is, we weren't the ones producing that. The boomers themselves were producing those shows for us, the Matildas. Even
Sleepless in Seattle.
that's Home Alone. That's the biggest
Right.
one. Home Alone.
Well, I mean, if you think about Peanuts or Charlie Brown, like the adults were there, but they weren't important. They weren't important enough. And that was before, you know what I mean?
It's in Harry Potter. I mean, that's the big one.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Harry Potter when we were talking about when you were mentioning the Thundercats and how one was like the savior. And I was thinking about, that in relation to Harry Potter, and I imagine that was probably a relatively influential, media universe for millennials.
So the generational demographers, Strauss and Howe wrote the Fourth Turning book, and Millennial Rising, basically focusing on how millennials will inherit the earth and save humanity. I'm using big language here. We're civic, we're heroes. Do you think that some of the backlash against us happened because we didn't fulfill some type of predestined role in their eyes, in the grown-ups' eyes, boomers?
I wonder if I don't know if we're there yet.
I mean,
like in the, like where they expect us to be in order to inherit the earth, or whatever. Like maybe we're just not age-wise there yet. But on top of that, like I think that there's something to be said for, sorry boomers, but the fact that boomers are still in the workforce, that's still a thing. So they're like holding on to it for dear life before handing it over. Like it's almost like the cold dead hands kind
and
of
in politics.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my outlook on that whole thing. But
I think that boomers have been hallmarked. Like if you wanted to choose a hallmark for their generation, it's their desire for control. And they don't even know why they want it. They just do it. They control. Like when I differ from a lot of millennials where I've really had it out with my parents. Like we went through about a 1.5 year period where I'm still a teenager, mind you. So like I'm still under their roof, all of that. I got kicked out a couple times, come back because the law says you're not allowed to kick your kid out of the house till they're 18, but they did it anyway, stuff like that. And we clashed for a long time over that issue. So I might be a little oversensitive to people having undue control, but that's what I kind of see. I see it in relationships with, everything around you. Boomers, they want to be in control, whether they're the customer, whether they're your boss, whether they're your subordinate. They want to have that. And what I've found is unless you like take it to 11 with them consistently, they don't want to back down. They'll always try to weasel that in just to get control. They don't even know why they want it, but they
I feel like that might just be a general human feature, though, of wanting control over your environment. I don't know.
It kind of goes beyond that because, like, you want to control your environment, sure.
Yeah.
But do you want to control my environment?
No, but I mean, when you're in my environment and you're doing something that it feels like out of my control, I think that a lot of people will naturally feel the desire that they're losing control of their environment, and that's going to be a problem to them.
Right, but
Yeah.
it goes beyond, is what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like their desire, because it didn't end with my parents there. It was like,
Yeah.
I'm in my 20s and they're trying to tell me what I have to do, and I'm like, who are you and what are you doing? And didn't we already have this conversation?
To
So,
your
yeah.
point, the fact that they still align Ryzen, we're basically midlife. I think in past times, 35 is the beginning of midlife. So they still take midlifers and put them in the same boat with college students, co-eds on the beach during the Corona pandemic. The fact that they still see us as kids in a way, I think, speaks to your point about the control.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what I was
and not
gonna.
only
That's
that-
what I was thinking. Was like when with boomers, like we've been. That I feel like their intentions might have started out good, when we were younger, as far as like trying to protect us and trying to do things differently than how they were brought up or whatever. But I think that hurt us when I think there was like a few articles about that. But like when we got older, when we got to the point where we graduated from high school and stuff, they were like, oh yeah, you can still stay at home. We graduated from college. Yeah, you can still stay at home. So that's also their control while also helping, but not really giving us the rope to discover who we are as adults. And so that put us on like a late, that's why I'm like, I don't know if we're there yet as far as like inheriting the earth, because I feel like if it was left up to us right now and boomers just like all of a sudden disappeared, like just like the rapture just took all the boomers and everything. It was just left to like us, or the boomers and the Xers,
Yeah, like
Xers.
Damon
you're here,
Lindelof
but-
and the leftovers.
Yeah, the leftovers. So like Xers and up are just taken away, and it's up to the millennials. I feel like we'd have a really hard time, like figuring out how to navigate this, because we weren't the groundwork wasn't there from the beginning.
Mhm. Just sort of.
I think that they've done such a poor job that like we'd be in the same boat no matter when it started. Like when they decided to leave, like they've just done such a poor job. It's kind of like the mess is there. Like they can't really fix it.
You were going to say something?
just on the parenting thing, like to put sort of Tommy, Phil, and Catherine's point together. Just on parenting, like that whole thing of control. Since I'm less than 10 years out from being in high school, so I remember my peers who had older parents who were boomers, because mine were born in the 60s, so they're like Xers. But that whole thing of you talk to older people and their parents weren't like on top of them throughout middle school, high school, like a lot of my friends' parents. Like that whole thing of, oh, you've got soccer practice or basketball or whatever, I'm going to be there. Your friends are going to know who I am. Your teachers are going to know who I am. Or it was just kind of like with my dad's parents, it was like, okay, go do that. I'll see you at the end of the day when you come home. And I guess their worlds were like more divorced. And you even see it in the media too, even with cartoons or movies, how with a lot of boomer parents, they're always just kind of floating there in the background. And I don't think that was something that existed before our generation, at least not nearly to the same degree. As Phil said, it had more to do maybe with social class then, but it seems to have just spread out to basically everybody as far as I can tell.
Well, to that point, and Tommy, I know a 37-year-old who just got a tattoo, and she still hasn't really like told her parents. She's 37. She has lots of kids, and she still hasn't told her parents. She's like, oh Lord, I don't know what they're gonna think. Meanwhile, I know her parents, and I'm thinking they didn't care about what their parents thought. Like, I don't remember the boomers caring about what their GI and silent parents thought, especially when they were around in their late 30s. So something is in the water. Something's different. I don't know what it is. I know.
Yeah, it's that that weird dependency that we still carry, that we were never really pushed off the deep end and be like, all right, figure it out. That wasn't our generation. Our generation was like, go to the deep end. Here's some little floaty things for you. I'll be right here if you need me. As opposed to like, you're on your own, figure it out. If you drown, don't drown.
And I feel like
but it goes beyond our parents, because I feel like
Right.
once we got into the greater society was hostile. Like, it's like, I feel like it's like, you know, other people's parents, you know, I had gone from clashing with my parents to clashing with other people's parents now.
Mhm.
And even though my parents at that point, they were trying to back me up a little bit, you know, yeah, other people's parents, it was a generational hazing. Like, millennial generation has, and they've never stopped hazing us.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know what they want, but
Are you talking about just who are the ones hazing us? The boomers and Xers?
boomers, Xers, the whole greater society. Yeah.
We
Like,
talked
in
about
our 20s. Oh, yeah.
we talked about how you and I were both class of '99,
Mhm.
and we talked about how in high school the high school world started to feel different the more and more Xers graduated out, and suddenly the cliques went away, and it's the late '90s, so people were wearing pretty much the same outfits to fall into the Gap look.
Yeah.
We had like nerds were hanging out with jocks, just like that. I don't know what happened, but the typical high school tribes seemed to disappear. Next thing you know, you have black guys listening to Korn and Coldplay, and riding skateboards.
And I'm sorry for the Korn and Coldplay thing. Nobody should have to go through that. but the skateboarding thing is cool.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm really surprised at how much more prevalent that's become.
Skateboarding.
Especially with black people, the skateboarding is like, it's huge now, and I was really surprised, and I'm like, man, this is, you know, pretty amazing that it caught on this hard, and it hasn't fallen off at all. Like, I'm really hoping that it keeps getting bigger, really.
I was just gonna say, like, I think that there were certainly, for my school, it seemed like there were cliques in high school. I was gonna ask if Darius, because Darius is younger than all of us, I think, what his experience was, and if there were cliques in his high school.
Right. So, I mean, there were cliques in my high school. I don't know, because I also have to take geographic area into account. Like, I pretty much live out in the suburbs, going really into like a more rural area, because I mean, there's a cow farm across the street from where I went to school. So
yeah,
you know,
and I was like the opposite kind of, where I was suburban, but right on the outskirts of a city. So
right. And it was interesting going to college, because for me, I mean, I grew up in a conservative town. So of course, our team wasn't any good, but you know, sports were still a big thing. There were still cliques in the school, but the school wasn't super diverse. So it was just kind of like, if there were cliques, you know, it was the stereotypical, like, you have all the jocks.
Yeah.
Then you had, now granted, like, so my extracurriculars in school were band. You know, I was in jazz band, marching band, percussion ensemble, you know, the whole 9 yards there. And it was strange, because initially, when I had first started in 9th grade, a lot of people on the different sports teams, they were also in band, and it actually sort of stratified a little bit more by the time I had gotten into my 11th and 12th grade year. But I don't know what really would account for that. I can't say whether that was the case at other schools. When I went to college, it sounded like that was much less of a problem the clickiness was just a lot less of a thing in the more affluent areas, is what it sounded like to me.
Catherine
Well,
and I went to the
Yeah.
same high school and
It was
college.
an arts, yeah, it was an art school,
So-
so we didn't really have the typical cliques. We had groups,
Yeah.
but you
Right.
couldn't really define what made that group a group,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like, but what is interesting is I don't remember. Let me see. When I was a senior, I'm not sure what grade you were in. A sophomore? Were you a sophomore?
Yeah, I was a sophomore.
I just don't remember that the upper class guys beating down the younger guys like that. It just seemed like we were.
No,
all-
we were like weird ass artists. Like we're not gonna we're not gonna we're not gonna be like bullying people. And like
Right.
the only sports team we finally got was like
Pegasus.
volleyball,
Volleyball.
Philadelphia, which
Yeah.
makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then like I think maybe softball or something.
Mhm. So,
But yeah, our mascot was a Pegasus, so we're not doing anything with that.
and then we
So-
went from Pegasus to Fight and Pickle.
Yeah.
Well, but my thing was that in my school the click walls came down. It's not that you didn't, dress a certain way or do a certain thing, but
Mhm.
like the upperclassmen, they wouldn't, like, if you were in one group and one was in the other group, they wouldn't
Mm.
talk.
Mhm.
Okay, that's
you know-
that wasn't the case when I was in school.
Yeah, it wasn't a bullying thing. It was
We're just gonna be over here, you be over
Right.
there. Oh,
Yeah.
I feel like I definitely still do that shit.
Yeah.
And not necessarily like a I don't like you thing, but it's more like a comfort zone,
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
just antisocial.